Srimad Bhagavatam 5:14-24. Muktaha tatah yadi bandhat devadattah upachinati tasmat api vishnumitrah iti anavasthitihi. Muktastato yadi bandhad devadatta upachinati tasmadapi vishnumitra ityanavasthitihi. Muktaha, liberated. Tatah, from that. Yadi, if. Bandhat, from the government imprisonment or being beaten by the protector of the woman. Devadatta, person named Devadatta. Upachinati, takes the money from him. Tasmat, from the person named Devadatta. Api, again. Vishnumitraha, a person named Vishnumitра. Iti, thus. Anavasthitihi, the riches do not stay in one place, but pass from one hand to another. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: stealing or cheating another person out of his money, the conditioned soul somehow or other keeps it in his possession and escapes punishment. Then another man named Devadatta cheats him and takes the money away. Similarly, another man named Vishnumitra steals the money from Devadatta and takes it away. In any case, the money does not stay in one place. It passes from one hand to another. Ultimately, no one can enjoy the money and it remains the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Please repeat the translation. Stealing or cheating another person out of his money, the conditioned soul somehow or other keeps it in his possession and escapes punishment. Then another man named Devadatta cheats him and takes the money away. Similarly, another man named Vishnumitra steals the money from Devadatta and takes it away. In any case, the money does not stay in one place. It passes from one hand to another. Ultimately, no one can enjoy the money and it remains the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very fast. Purport. Riches come from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and the goddess of fortune is the property of Nārāyaṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune cannot stay anywhere but by the side of Nārāyaṇa. Therefore, another of her names is Chanchala, restless. She cannot be peaceful unless she is in the company of her husband, Nārāyaṇa. For example, Lakshmi was carried away by the materialistic Ravana. Ravana kidnapped Sita, the goddess of fortune, belonging to Lord Ram. As a result, Ravana's entire family, opulence and kingdom were smashed, and Sita, the goddess of fortune, was recovered from his clutches and reunited with Lord Ram. Thus, all property, riches and wealth belong to Krishna. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktaram yajñatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the true beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, and he is the supreme proprietor of all the planetary systems. Foolish materialistic people collect money and steal from other thieves, but they cannot keep it. In any case, it must be spent. One person cheats another and another person cheats someone else. Therefore, the best way to possess Lakshmi is to keep her by the side of Narayana. This is the point of the Krishna consciousness movement. We worship Lakshmi or Radharani along with Narayana or Krishna. We collect money from various sources, but that money does not belong to anyone but Radha and Krishna, or Lakshmi and Nārāyaṇa. If money is utilized in the service of Lakshmi Nārāyaṇa, the devotee automatically lives in an opulent way. However, if one wants to enjoy Lakshmi the way Ravana did, he will be vanquished by the laws of nature, and whatever few possessions he has will be taken away. Finally, death will take everything away, and death is the representative of Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So unless an Acharya actually translates, we cannot have the full picture of the meaning. As you can see here, in the Sanskrit itself, if you explore the word-to-word meaning, there's nothing mentioning the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but that's what is concluded here by Srila Prabhupada. Ultimately, no one can enjoy the money and it remains the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, pure devotee, he knows how to translate, he knows the meaning of the verses. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham. Krishna says, I, as death, I'll take away everything from everyone. So recently, last year, my father passed away. So now, whatever was his will be handed over to his descendants or legal heirs, and in that way it's passing hands. So we cannot at any time, claim proprietorship to what we have. What we have is only a quota allotted to us for a certain period of time. We think we earned it, but our work is not the only cause for the result, as it is mentioned, I think, in 18th chapter, 13th verse, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. 18:13. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhye kritante proktani siddhaye sarvakarmanam. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. So, what are they? 1814. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The place of action, which is the body, the performer, soul, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So we always take credit for the results of our action, not knowing actually who we really are. The performer, we think we are the performer. That's just one of the 5 here. The body, for example, we take it for granted. But actually, the able body has been awarded to us by the Lord. We don't have gratitude for that. And we become proud of whatever physical, mental, or intellectual capacity we may have, as if we created it all by ourselves. The many different kinds of endeavor. We have always grown up, most of us have grown up hearing this phrase, hard work is the key to success. Well, some people have replaced it with smart work, not hard work. All these are just, some different ways of saying that I am great, I am doing it. Whether I am working hard or smart, I am doing it. So, these are not the causes of action. The first 4 may or may not happen, but if the sanction of the super soul is there, it will happen. So sometimes our activities may coincide with the will of the super soul. Sometimes it may not. Of course, Paramatma never wills that we may stay in this material world. Because one may question, if the Lord willed that I should commit a sinful activity, that I should drink alcohol, that's why I'm drinking. They will twist, the materialists, they will try to just poke fun at the devotees, saying that, I am drinking because the Lord is sanctioning me to drink, or the Lord is sanctioning me to eat meat. So, it is just a facility given by the Lord. Just like a father who may take the child to a supermarket, and if the child makes too much of a noise, that I want this candy, I want candy. First he will say, no, you're not going to have it. Then he makes a big ruckus there. Then finally, okay, if that's what you want, he may give. But it's not willingly. He sanctions it unwillingly. So it's the unwilling sanction of the Supreme Lord that he sanctions as in pious or impious activities. Both are actually, the Lord is unwilling in both of them. Although he recommends pious activities, that is only with the hope that one day we may meet we may come in the association of devotees and actually make the real switch to spiritual activities, akarma. Karma and vikarma are both binding, and akarma is what we should covet, and therefore the Lord, he will give us facility to improve ourselves so that we may come to the platform of goodness, which is where the association of sadhus is available, is more probable. There is more probability for association of sadhus. For example, of course, sometimes sadhus can be very merciful and they may even go to places in mode of ignorance. Like Nityananda Prabhu, he used to go to liquor shops and preach and convert them to Vaishnavas. So that's the unbounded mercy of a Vaishnava. But in their natural habitat, the Vaishnavas are in the places where there is mode of goodness or above goodness. If somebody goes to brothels, you may not find devotees distributing books there. There's less probability of that. We used to have one devotee before I joined. He used to distribute books, even near brothels. So, it's a risky business. But so you may not find, one may not find devotees outside brothels or clubs and such places. But if one somehow is encouraged to do some pious activities, maybe demigod worship or some charitable activities, then maybe in such activities one may contact devotees and his disposition towards charity may be employed in the service of a Vaishnava who will engage such property in Krishna's service. In that way he starts, he begins. So that's the whole hope in establishing karma kanda, in fact. Otherwise, there is no other purpose for that. There's no other purpose. Therefore, we should understand the purpose of all the seemingly varied instructions of the Vedas. Because there are so many things, like so many recommendations in the Vedas. Worship this, do that, all pointing seemingly in different directions, but they're not. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, unfortunately I forgot where exactly I read it, one of his articles. So he mentioned that the way to understand these different instructions in the Vedas, say even Bhagavad Gita, even in Bhagavad Gita there are many recommendations. There is, following the duty, according to one's modes, and encouraging Arjuna to fight because he's a Kshatriya, and even encouraging him in ways almost seemingly materialistic. Not, but seemingly. For example, Krishna said, oh, if you do not fight, they will mock at you. Your reputation will be gone forever. If you run away now, you will be known as a coward till the end of time. So in that way, even he prodded Arjuna to fight. And there is, of course, Karma Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, there is Hatha Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. So many, an analysis of the three modes. So many things are mentioned. But what is the actual purpose of all those instructions? Because one may take, in fact, there was some video in a podcast, one man was saying, recent, I think earlier this year or something. So he was saying that, in Bhagavad Gita there are many things. So if anybody says something that Bhagavad Gita says such and such, I always ask them the chapter and verse. Okay, I thought, okay, fine, very good. Then he said, in one place, the example he gave was, I should watch that again. So it was something seemingly contradictory, but it's not at all. It's about the three modes, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna, 245. They rise above the three modes. And I think the other verse was everybody acts according to the modes of nature, I think, which is like 713 or something like that. Two verses he quoted about the modes, three modes of material nature. So you see, at one place it is said that you have to transcend the modes. Other place it is said that you can only act within the modes, something like this, kind of contradictory. So there are many things that can be proven in Bhagavad Gita. So according to the context, we should take whichever verse. So basically, he does not know the purpose of all these. It ties to what? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains it nicely. He said, all the verses of Bhagavad Gita revolve around the axis of Sarvadharman Parityajya verse. They are all tied to that one verse. Every single verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So that's the apex, like a chandelier, like the Dhruvaloka. That's the Dhruvaloka. That's the axis around which every other verse is rotating, is situated. So if we have to really understand the actual purport of that verse, we should tie it to 1866 and then understand that verse. So we should understand the purpose of everything. So what is our even reason for our existence? Everything we have to understand the purpose. So anyway, coming back to this verse. So the wealth, it does not stay in one place, is what is the purport here. I mean the mention. And it stays only where Krishna is served, because Lakshmi, the real wealth, is actually the representation of Lakshmi Devi. And sometimes materialistic people, they worship, in fact they sell pictures, in Lakshmi Ganesh together. Lakshmi Kuvera. They did one yajna here in Arsakesari temple, Kranji. I think a few years ago, I think 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. What they were doing? Lakshmi Kuvera Yajna. So we went and so they actually invited us. They wrote a letter to our temple. Please participate, come and participate. We invite your management committee. So we were like laughing at it. So I wrote to them, yes, we will come. Can you give us a space for some selling books? Oh, yes, we have some, like a tent where some people are also selling some things. We can give you a free this thing. Okay, fine, good. No, actually discounted price. Said, okay, good, we will come. So we came and we were, every person who passed by, this is what I was telling them. See, Lakshmi and Kuvera, how can they be coming together? You are coming with your husband. You will come with another man, is it? You will not come, right? Lakshmi's husband is Nārayaṇa. So Kuvera has his own wife. And then how they will come together? Is it even like proper to worship them like that? So in this way, we sold some books there. Good sales. We had good sales. So anyway, so they do not understand. Simply, they want Lakshmi and Kuvera is the treasurer of demigods, so put them together. So this is not the way to understand things. So if they really want Lakshmi's blessings, then they have to worship Narayan. Because if we observe in Ramayana, Ravan was after Sita, Hanuman was also after Sita. Both were looking for Sita. Ravan looked for her in the forest, he went and looked for her in the Lanka. But one is condemned, one is worshipped. Because Ravan was looking for Sita only to satisfy his own senses. Hanuman was looking for the same Sita so that to serve Lord Ramachandra. So sometimes people may censure us, saying, oh, You people are money faced. Money face. You always ask donations. Yes, Hanuman was also after Sita. We should explain actually. Yes, we are after money for Krishna. So we should explain this thing. So then, why then Hanuman? You should explain. No? Why Hanuman is not condemned? He was also after Sita. Ravana was also after Sita. Ram was also after Sita. Belongs to Ram. And Hanuman understood it, Ravan did not. So, like Krishna is also after Radharani. So, but we should understand that she is meant for his enjoyment. And we are employing it. If I am taking the money and using it for myself, yes, then you can blame me all you like. So in this way, we have to clarify, we have to purify their understanding. First of all, we have to be clear. So in this way, money, the proper use of money is in Krishna's service. There is a beautiful verse and purport. I think you already know this. Okay, first let's go here. I think 9, 10, 20, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. तेनी कपारघुपतेरभिपत्य सर्वे द्वन्द्वं वरूथमिभपत्तिरथाश्वयोधैः जघ्नुर्द्रुमैर्गिरिगदेषुभिरङ्गदाद्याः सीताभिमर्शहतमङ्गलरावणेशान्. Angada and the other commanders of the soldiers of Ramachandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses, and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs, and arrows. Thus, the soldiers of Lord Ramachandra killed Ravana's soldiers who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Now, the contrast here in this verse is of the quality of Ramachandra's army and Ravana's army. So Ramachandra had monkeys and their weapons were some stones and trees and mountain peaks. Of course, this is very big in our estimation. Mountain peaks, if you can throw, means, Only Ram and Lakshman were shooting some arrows. Otherwise, everybody was a crude fighter there with brute strength and nothing much more than that. Whereas, on the other hand, this Ravana's side, Indrajit, who conquered and defeated Indra, his Bap, his father was Ravan. Indra. So, that kind of level, what is some mountain peaks and all? With the lightning, Indra can just break a mountain just like that if he wants. So, he defeated that Indra itself. And here some monkeys who are lesser than human beings, where he is conqueror of the king of the demigods. And his father was Ravan. So, unmatched. There's no comparison at all. Yet, the soldiers of Ramachandra killed Ravana's soldiers. Because Ravana lost all good fortune because he was condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Sita Abhimarsha, Hatamangala. Hatamangala means all kind of auspiciousness was killed for Ravana. Why? Sita Abhimarsha. Amarsha means anger. Sita Abhimarsha Hatamangala Ravaneshan. So you see, the soldiers Lord Ramachandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita. The monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. There are two kinds of strength, Daiva and Purushakara. Daiva refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence, and Purushakara refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Ma Manusmara Yudhya Cha, 8.7 Bhagavad Gita. Think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a very uncanny parallel to this in the estimation of Duryodhana. You see, in the first chapter, 10th verse, Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidametesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. Duryodhana said, our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. We have Bhishma, superior warrior. They have Bhima, who is a great warrior but inferior to Bhishma. And our size of the army is bigger, their size is smaller. So he was calculating on material terms. But Pandavas came out victorious because Jayastu Pandaputranam Yesham Pakshe Janardanaha. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. Yesham Pakshe Janardana. So same thing. So spiritual strength. Now, this verse, I think you all know this. 5:18-22. This is Lakshmi Devi speaking to Narayana. You know this verse, right? Mat prapta ye jesha surasuradayas tapyanta ugram tapa aindriye dhiyah rite bhavat pada parayana namam vindantyaham tvadhridayayato jita. O Supreme Unconquerable Lord, when they become absorbed in thoughts of material enjoyment, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as well as other demigods and demons, undergo severe penances and austerities to receive my benedictions. But I do not favor anyone, however great he may be, unless he is always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Because I always keep you within my heart, I cannot favor anyone but a devotee. So Lakshmi Devi only favors a devotee. Purport. And this is very important purport. In this verse, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, clearly states that she does not bestow her favor on any materialistic person, although sometimes a materialist becomes very opulent in the eyes of another materialist. Such opulence is bestowed upon him by the goddess Durga Devi, a material expansion of the goddess of fortune, not by Lakshmi Devi herself. Those who desire material wealth worship Durga Devi with the following prayer: Dhanam Dehi, Rupam Dehi, Rupavati Bharyam Dehi. O worshipable Mother Durga Devi, please give me wealth, strength, fame, a good wife, and so on. By pleasing Goddess Durga, one can obtain such benefits, but since they are temporary, they result only in Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvahato Vimudhan, 7.943, Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who work very hard for material benefits are Vimudhas, foolish rascals, because such happiness will not endure. On the other hand, devotees like Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj achieved extraordinary material opulences, but such opulences were not Maya Sukha. When a devotee acquires unparalleled opulences, they are the direct gifts of the goddess of fortune who resides in the heart of Narayan. The material opulences a person obtains by offering prayers to the goddess Durga are temporary. As described in Bhagavad Gita 7.23, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavatya alpamedhasam. Men of meager intelligence desire temporary happiness. We have actually seen that one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to enjoy the property of his spiritual master. And the spiritual master, being merciful toward him, gave him the temporary property, but not the power to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. That special mercy of the power to preach is given to a devotee who does not want anything material from his spiritual master, but wants only to serve him. The story of the demon Ravana illustrates this point. Although Ravana tried to abduct the goddess of fortune Sita Devi from the custody of Lord Ramachandra, he could not possibly do so. The Sita Devi he forcibly took with him was not the original Sita Devi, but an expansion of Maya or Durga Devi. As a result, instead of winning the favor of the real goddess of fortune, Ravana and his whole family were vanquished by the power of Durga Devi. In other words, misfortune. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha, 544. Beautiful purport. And here there's a very important point. There is material wealth and there's spiritual wealth. But the point that is here, that is stressed here, is it is difficult to ascertain whether it is spiritual or material if we are not careful. Because, for example, Ravana did not know that he did not take Sita. He was unaware that he actually did not take Sita away. He only took illusory Sita. He was not aware. So, similarly, and also, when the Agni Pariksha happened after Ravan was killed, what exactly happened, many did not know. Of course, for a common man, it is a test of chastity of the woman. How a woman must be chaste, and the example of a chaste woman, which Sita was exemplifying, which she is the epitome of. So that is one. But the other hidden thing is that she was not Sita at all. And the person who entered the fire was the Maya Sita, and the one who came out was the real Sita. So, similarly, here Prabhupada mentioned that one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to enjoy the property but did not want to preach. When we say did not want to preach, it can mean that he just simply, sit down and sleep and eat and have a good life, or not preach according to the actual standards of preaching, or in other words, compromising with materialistic ideas. So, the power to preach is there with that disciple who does not want simply wealth. So now when we have, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple, he had temple, he had, some disciples, he had money, and apparently all of them are, his disciples are, worshipping the deity, and temple was running. So how Prabhupada says that is material? You see what he said? We've actually seen that one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to enjoy the property of his spiritual master, and the spiritual master, being merciful toward him, gave him the temporary property, but not the power to preach. So when we are building a temple, for example, in any part of the world, that temple is temporary. Irrespective of whether it is pure preaching that is going on there, or it is some hodgepodge going on there. In both cases, it is temporary. But here, Prabhupada says, gave him the temporary property. Because even if a temple lasts until the end of the universe, At the time of destruction, it has to be gone. So, what is then, how come that is temporary and this is not? Prabhupada later on went to America and he built so many temples, and eventually those will be temporary. One day they may be gone. During Pralaya, when the water goes up to the heavenly planets, all are submerged, and what temple? So, so why is it temporary property when he disobeyed Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and it is not considered the same when somebody is obeying? So how to distinguish between what is actually material wealth and spiritual wealth? And spiritual wealth can turn material. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was there, the temple and everything is spiritual. That is spiritual. And even when he's gone, when the order of the spiritual master is missing, that is the key thing here. When the order of the spiritual master is forgotten or disobeyed, then the active ingredient of one's spiritual life, as Prabhupada mentions, what is the exact word? What? Sara. Is this? Yeah. Sara, active principle. And asara means dead or useless. You see, Acharyara mata jay, shay mata sar, tara agya labhi chalet shaita asar. The order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Anyone who disobeys the order of the spiritual master immediately becomes useless. And everything that belongs will eventually lack the same potency. So, of course, one may go and bow down in the temple. Like, for example, there is Tirupati, and there are similar other many holy places. People take darshan. Fine. But is it alive? That recent Tirupati Laddu issue of what happened there. Classic, that Laddu is the classic symbol of our Sanatana Dharma, so-called Hinduism. Sanatana Dharma is always pure. But when it is tainted with, adulterations, that becomes this hodgepodge Hindu nonsense. And that was the Laddu, which was full of those adulterations. And that's the hodgepodge rubbish that is going on in the name of religion at this point. So that Laddu is a symbol of the status of our so-called following of Sanatana Dharma. That is a perfect symbol. So that nobody else is to be blamed. Nobody else. So this is what happens. People may go. The potency of a temple is not simply how many people go there. That's never the potency. Potency is where how many people's lives are actually being not just changed, but spiritualized. Let's be very clear, specific in the definition of what is change. They're actually becoming Krishna conscious in the authorized way. Not again, oh yeah, I felt good, I felt connection with Vishnu. Not that kind of vague nonsense. We're talking about actually become devotees. A temple is an actual establishment by an acharya for the purpose of gathering commoners, people in general, to come and learn how to worship the Lord in the authorized process. Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatraki Vidim Vina Aikantike Harer Bhakti Utpataya Iva Kalpate. Because if they're going to do their own thing in their homes and in their own ways, it's going to be a disturbance and nobody will advance, nobody will benefit. So an institution is there where everybody learns the standard way, just like any university. Everybody is coming to learn the standard knowledge, and then, school or anything like that. They are standardized institutions. There is standardized syllabus. There is standardized. Why there is standard? Because I cannot, have my own version of so-called knowledge. That's not knowledge, that's opinion. So if we have to know facts, then it has to be. This is a standard. So this time I went to India. One of our family members took us to this place, in Hyderabad, in the outskirts of Hyderabad, where there's this statue of equality. Have you heard? Have you seen that? Yeah. Ramanujacharya's big murti, 108 feet or something. It's grand, yes. But is there actually proper respect for such a great Acharya? If you see in any Vedic structure, the deity is always sheltered in a what is that? The deity altar room is called Garbhagriha. Means it is Garbha means womb. Griha means it is sheltered, so almost actually no light even goes there. We are not as much like that, but the deity should be protected from the elements, rain, sunshine, birds passing stool on it, on the head of Ramanujacharya. How would you? Is that proper respect for the deity? So you cannot allow such things to happen. In fact, Prabhupada many times condemned this. Oh, these atheistic rascals, they're against deity worship, but they will construct big statues in the center of the city of their so-called leader and worship them. Oh, this is our. And then what kind of worship? Birds passing stool, and then you'll clean the stool on the once a year or something. So is that proper even worship? So Prabhupada was against this idea. So from Acharya we will know. And the person who established that whole thing, he had deities of Vishnu in all the 108 Divya Desham, all the deities. He kind of installed them in the temple all around, and one has to go. And okay, we took darshan. Okay, fine. But where is the preaching? Where is the preaching? Many people are coming, and there is some fountain show and all that, where the water goes and there's this whole lotus-like thing on a pillar, and then Ramanujacharya's small vigraha is there, and then the water comes and like on top, and then it flows down, and then because of the pumping system, again so the same water is being circulated. Is that the way to do Abhishek? That's also wrong. So, that's not the proper way to worship. Leave aside all of that. Philosophy, what was the philosophy? He quoted the only verse which we ever saw there. He has institution. He has an institution, and they have done some performances as well of Bhagavad Gita recitation. His students know Bhagavad Gita by heart, the entire Bhagavad Gita, and they can, from anywhere they can quote verses, some of his students. But he quoted a verse there. What is that? What verse he quoted? Yeah. Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. He quoted that verse. What is the meaning? That all the living entities are my parts and parcels, Krishna is saying. So he's saying, he quoted that and said, oh, therefore we should see God in everyone. So, and therefore we should serve everyone, and that will be the service to God. This is Mayavad nonsense. This is absolute rubbish. Basically just promoting mundane philanthropy, cheating. So this is the kind of preaching going on. So This is what is called materialistic. It has become materialistic. Yeah, we can just bow down to the place because the holy place. But so many pilgrimage sites are there in India. But no real potency there. That is what Prabhupada is referring to when he said Bhaktisiddhanta's disciple wanted the temple and he gave him the temporary property but not the power to preach. Power to preach. So, I went last year to India, so I was talking to this one devotee in another camp, Brahmachari. So, he was showing around the temple, beautifully done, very nice, opulent, many, very expensive. Good. But I know how they collect their funds, part of their schemes. They compromise with Mayavadis to get funds from their followers, allow them to speak in their premises and promote their talks with advertisements. So such things. So I showed him this verse and purport 5:18:22. And I showed, see, this power to preach is what one. Because he appreciated that in your ISKM, you are given the freedom to speak what you feel about these issues. Because he was mentioning that I spoke against Sadhguru or Gaur Gopal. So we honestly speak. And he said, we actually deeply appreciate this. In our institution, we do not have this freedom. And therefore, I have a lot of respect for your institution. He said like that. So, the reason we can speak like this is because we don't have collaborations with such people, such groups. Whereas they have collaborations with these people, and therefore they cannot say anything about them. So, in this way, I have gotten money, yes, but at the cost, what have I given in exchange? I have given my power to preach. I have done this barter system where I have exchanged my power to preach for the money. So, we should accept money as long as it does not affect our power to preach, our purity, the platform of purity from which we can speak. In the Mahabharata, when after the war, Bhishma Dev was lying on the bed of arrows, and Yudhishthir Maharaj was very despondent because of me, everybody died, and what is this? He was just morose. Nobody could, cheer him up. Arjuna spoke, nothing. Krishna spoke, nothing. He was not moved. He was still sad, and he was. Finally, Krishna said, okay. Then he took him to Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev then spoke at length, although he was lying on the bed of arrows. But first thing Bhishma Dev said was, now that all the blood of my body, which was formed by eating the salt of Duryodhan, has drained out, I am able to speak on dharma. In other words, the phrase namak haram in Hindi, we say namak haram means you take his help. I mean, basically it's like you are eating somebody's food. Namak means every food item will have salt. You're being maintained by that person, and then you become his traitor. So Bhishma Dev, although he is Mahajan, right, but he is playing this role and teaching us lesson by not only by what he spoke, but by what he did. How dangerous it is that even if I am as great a person as Bhishma Dev, a Mahajan of the highest order, if I take favors from a person who is non-devotee, then I may become, I may try to appease that person, And because of that, I may not talk against, even if it is the truth. I may not help the person, I may just appease the person. In that way, I will actually do adharma. You see, even when Draupadi was being disrobed, Bhishma Dev did not open his mouth. He knew everything about dharma. He could not open mouth because eating the food of Duryodhana. Of course, Bhishma Dev did not need to eat his food, but he promised his father that he wouldn't become king. He promised that Satyavati's father, that he would not become king, and therefore, he was not ruling. But he just felt, that's why this Priti Lakshanam, Bhungte Bhojayate Chaiva, that nectar of instruction in verse 4, accepting, offering prasadam, should be done, not only prasadam, any food. In fact, if you literally translate that NOI 4 verse, it does not say prasadam at all. Bhungte Bhojayate, eat and offer food. That verse speaks nothing about the association of devotees, actually, if you really analyze the Sanskrit. That means, you see, let's go to the verse actually. Dadati pratigrahanati means what? Giving and taking gifts. Guhyam akhyati prichhati. Guhyam akhyati. So confidential, talks and inquiries. Bhungte and bhojayate. Eating, accepting food and offering food. Chaiva shadvidham priti lakshanam. 6 types of activities in affection. That's all it meant. It meant. That's what it means. There's nothing to do with devotional service here. Why is it mentioned? Of course, in the context of NOI, yes, it is about devotees. But this same thing, if we do with non-devotees, like, business meetings, how does big business people they meet? How do they meet? Lunch, banquet, party, drinks. Bhungte bhojate, priti lakshanam. Get close, make the other person happy, then strike a deal in that meeting, like that. This is how it happens. They call it networking, whatever big names. This is what it is. Priti lakshanam. Get them to a certain agreeable platform. And how that works is bhungte bhojate, all this. And revealing confidential things and inquiring, accepting and receiving gifts. This is what they do. So, because Bhishma Deva was doing all this, then he could not speak. So, he's showing us that however great we may be, if we accept favors from materialists, we may be bound. And we may not be able to actually act righteously. This is why association is so strong, so subtle. We think sometimes, if we know it's okay, it's okay, I can manage myself. We cannot manage. You see, Bhishma Deva could not manage. So therefore he said, now that the blood of Duryodhana's food has gone away from my body, now I am able to speak on dharma. He spoke more than anybody in the entire Mahabharata. In fact, the whole Mahabharata, 100,000 verses, I don't know how many tens of thousand verses is Bhishma Parva. The biggest section of the Mahabharata is that talk of Bhishma Deva. That much he spoke. Way more than Bhagavatam. 18,000 verses, nothing. That much he spoke. So, order of the spiritual master. So, ours is, Chanchala, we should understand, wealth is temporary. Real wealth is to be using it in Krishna's service. And such a person actually can live opulently. Comfortably he can live. Now people become jealous of the devotees. You see, you are lazy people. You have found out a way in which to, pull the heartstrings of people and get some donations and then eat and sleep nicely. This is what they think. No, then our invitation is, Okay, you think it is so simple, right? Well, come and do it then. Do it now. Who's stopping you? No, no, I honestly work. I am not a cheater. I honestly work for my money. Oh, really? I want to see you in your workplace. How honestly you work, first of all. How much you're trying to escape from your boss. How much you're cutting corners. I want to see. Honestly working. Yeah, there are some driven individuals who are, but we are not. This is their allegation. Um, our honest work is, yes, we take donations, we offer it to Krishna and for his glorification. We have a full mission. We have a mission bigger than theirs actually. Because we don't have manpower, we are doing it at such a small scale. We have more manpower, our domain will increase. Our domain will increase more and more and more and more. Just like Matsya Avatar. Matsya Avatar came as a small fish in his hands and he outgrew it. And then put it in a bigger, outgrew that. Put in a bigger container, outgrew. Pond, outgrew. Lake, outgrew. So like that, he became bigger than anything. He entered the waters of devastation, the whole universal waters. There he became a big fish. How long was the Matsya avatar? How long was the fish? 8 million miles. So there is unlimited scope for expansion of our Krishna conscious movement. The only reason we are small is that, in fact, we have no strength to manage anything bigger. Prabhupada said, Krishna is ready to give you the world in 18 days. He was speaking about Mahabharata. Pandavas had 0. Duryodhana said, I will not give a land on which you can put a tip of a needle. That was their original position. 18 days later, they had the world under their feet. So, Prabhupada said, Krishna can give you the whole world in 18 days. But are you ready? So, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. So, of course, not about just blame. We have to improve in our Krishna consciousness. We have to become more and more. We have to think in the missionary spirit, always. That should be the only thing in our mind. And then we will stay alive in Krishna consciousness. We'll stay alive if we take to the active ingredient in spiritual life, which is the order of the spiritual master. Then that will be real wealth. Everything then can be used in Krishna's service. Now the elections happened in US. He promised that there will be no war. But honestly, these things we cannot adjust with just materialistic adjustments. We may, there may be a lull in the war, but something else will crop up. So with materialistic endeavors, we cannot stop materialistic situations. It has to be done by Krishna consciousness. So that's our mission. So what actually these countries are big countries are talking about, all the leaders, national, international leaders, they have these huge summits and all these things. What they're talking about, all those things can be easily achieved by what we are doing. So we should be confident of our this thing and we should present ourselves as such, not some beggars. We are greater than your United Nations and everything, so you please donate. So we should talk from that platform. We should be confident of that platform, first of all, where we are talking from. People may accuse us, oh, you are having a comfortable life and eating and sleeping. No, we're not eating and sleeping only. We are working so much that we don't have time to work for our own money. That is the actual situation. So anyway, I'll stop it here. Any questions or comments on this topic? I think somebody Vashishta is asking, Prabhu, I think Bhishma Dev also disobeyed his spiritual master, Lord Parshuram, by refusing to marry Princess Amba. Well, that was more of a test of his celibacy and his vow. In fact, his name is Bhishma. Bhishma means actually horrible. You know? You don't know if Bhishma means horrible? Bhishma means horrible. But his name became Bhishma and he's Mahajan. Why? Because actually his, what was his name? Devadatta? Devavrata. Yeah. Devavrata was his actual name. So, because even that name and this name is almost actually the same, the meaning in opposite terms. Because Vrata means vow, Devavrata means godly vow. So, actually, it's a godly vow what he took, because he took Naishtik Brahmacharya vow. But when his father came to know about it, because he sacrificed his own family life and even his claim to the throne, just so that his father may be happy to marry Satyavati. When he came to know that he did this for his father, first he appreciated, oh, you brought. I could not make him agree, because Satyavati's father wanted her son to become the next king. So Shantanu said, no, I cannot do that because I already have Devavrat. And that Devavrat also was the 8th son with Ganga. The 7 sons, she just killed them. This is the 8th son. So it was too precious of a child for him. No, I cannot. Then the son found out and then he went and spoke. And then he said, yes, I will not become king. No, I'm still not convinced. Your son then will fight with my daughter's son's son. Big plan he's making for generations down. He's not going to stay another few years, but he's making plans for a few hundred years. So he said, so okay, never mind, I won't marry her. Oh, okay. So he gave. So when Shantanu came to know about this, he said, oh, Bhishma Pratignya, horrible vow. That's what he said. Bhishma Pratignya, horrible vow. Such a horrible vow you have taken. So that's how his name became Bhishma. So for a materialist, it is a horrible vow. But for a spiritual, it is Devavrata. Or Daivavrata, whatever you call it. In fact, it is called Brihadvrata. Big vow. So that's actually the greatness of Bhishma Dev. So all right, we'll stop it here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad. Oh, you have something. Yeah. What's the real reason? That the moment we try to enjoy Krishna's opulences, that is Maya. It will act as Maya. Anything. For example, our phone itself is there. Our phone can be used in Krishna's service or Maya. So when it is used in Krishna's service, it actually becomes a tool to increase our Krishna consciousness. But when we do something else with the phone, then that will become the cause of our bondage in this material world. So everything has this dual aspect, that the same thing can be used in Krishna's service and it will become Maya. So whether the phone is Maya or not, it depends on what I am using it for. When I am using it for Krishna's service, it is an instrument in Krishna's service, it's spiritual. When I am using it for something else, immediately it turns into Maya in a split second. The same phone. So everything has its dual nature. So that is what he's teaching. So Ravana wanted for his own sense gratification, immediately Maya. So sometimes So that in Chaitanya Charitamrita there was this devotee who was very despondent. I think Vipra, Ramdas Vipra, who was very despondent, because he was thinking, oh, how come Sita was touched by Ravan? How can it happen? So he was always very sad. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found that page in Kurma Puran where this Maya Sita thing is mentioned, and then he brought back and showed it, and then he became very happy after that. Because he tried to cheer him up in so many ways, he cannot cheer him up at all, because he cannot accept this fact that how come Ravana could touch her. So, so sometimes it so happens that, like in our Bharat, there were so many temples that were desecrated by Muslims for centuries, right? So we may become sad, how can it happen to the Lord's place? But we should also know that there is something that is going on because of which the Lord did not want to be there. That's the other side of it. Even Goswami's temples. Yeah, Goswami's. But what else was happening there after that? If you see Chaitanya Bhagavat, I think in the Adikhanda second chapter itself, you will see how, we know this fact that where Advaita Acharya was praying, crying and praying for the Lord to descend. You know why he was crying? So in the Adikhanda of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is mentioned all what he was seeing, why he was feeling so unhappy. He was seeing how people were enjoying their lives, completely not interested in spiritual life. But they were doing all ceremonies pompously. But one of the incidences he mentioned that they were doing this marriage ceremony for hens and cocks. Hens and cocks. Marriage ceremony. They were dressing up the hen like a bride, and then having this huge band and everything, and a huge feast for everyone. And then they're having all this. They have invented like their own functions and sports, and just imagine now. I mean, there are how many sports are there? Stadiums are built. In this way, thousands of people used to pay and watch these things and have entertainment. And just imagine now how much entertainment is there. So Advaita Acharya was seeing all these things and he's seeing how much people are becoming disinterested. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started the Sankirtan movement, they complained to the Muslim ruler, "Arey, what is this? He is destroying our religion. Do something to him." This was the status of Brahmanas. Yeah, they're having sacred thread and studying Vedas and everything, just interested in material life. Externally looking like Brahmanas only, but what they were doing. So these things were happening. So the Lord is watching and watching and watching. So he is disgusted. So he wanted to go. So it looks, it's heart-wrenching, to know that, so many, the Lord's temples are, desecrated in that way. But the deity will remain a deity when we serve him as the deity. When we are not interested to serve him, then he'll immediately turn himself into a stone and he will go away from there. So actually, when the Muslims, they came and broke the deities, the Lord was never harmed. Lord was never harmed. It looks like they harmed the Lord, but no. It's actually the own offense which built up, due to which the Lord is not happy. So just like Sita was replaced. She replaced herself with Maya Sita when he came with a different motive. So similarly, if we have a different motive in Krishna consciousness, then the Lord is not interested. Anything else? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.